clear how critical an infrastructure the power sector is to the development of any country, and specifically to Nigeria now. Even before uh, the power sector was unbundled by last year and removed from the federal government's exclusive list, we've seen some developments here and there. We've seen power plants spring up. We've seen new substations. We've heard about some state governments trying to partner with other state governments, with the federal government. Yet our the volume of our megawatts, yeah, if I may put it that way, it hasn't increased. Our power consumption, power distribution still remains the same. Sometimes it regresses. Recently, we've had several national grid collapses. Citizen,
Yes.
is it that we are yet to be aware, or we used to be aware, and now we think is no longer as important as it used to be? How important power is to the growth and development of our country?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank you for making me to meet with Marvel today.
Mm.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I always enjoy his analysis. And when we came in, off the mic, I was saying, this kind of discussion, you need an expert. We are analysts. He's more than an analyst, a consultant. Yes. So he has done justice quite a great deal, but we can never exhaust the definite issues about power. And when you know that in 2015, leading to the general elections, where APC was in power under Jonathan, I mean PDP, and APC was clamoring to send them packing. One of the excuse me, low hanging campaign themes, which nobody could have said was part of the propaganda that was used, was the issue of power. Under Jonathan, or under Obasanjo, which was still PDP, and Yar'Adua, particularly Obasanjo, so much money was said to have been put into the power sector without result. We cannot forget how much we used to hear. Was it 16 billion? Was it
16
naira?
billion
Naira or dollars?
16 billion.
Yes.
And they politicized it.
Exactly. The amount we had was 16 billion. So that we even forgot if it was naira or in dollars. But that was fabulous amount, and they said that was the amount used to generate darkness. But to be fair to Obasanjo, there were different stations, power stations that were built across the country. One of it is in Cross River State. You can see those things, and some of them I'm sure they are working now. Fast forward to the campaign. I can never forget what the former governor, he was performing governor of Lagos State, Fashola, said as Minister of Power. If I was Minister for Power, I think about 2-3 ministries he was heading. And during the campaigns, he said, any serious government shouldn't have issues about generating power. It's as simple as, if your building requires 4, what do they call that small generator? Bob Loco. Bob Loco kind of generator, and it does not carry, you just buy another one and add, increase the capacity. That any serious government will make sure there's power within, solve the power problem within 6 months. And that was wonderful to the ears, because it's not a matter of large industries not being able to survive, or hotels. I hope you know that there are institutions that spend as much as 1, 2, 3, 4 million to run their plants in a month. And you ask, what kind of profit do they make? You can be sure they are no longer making profit. That's why larger companies have left the shores of this country to other smaller countries with very small market, but they are better off. Now, the promise of the APC, I want to quote directly, having to do with the revival and the power generation and transmission and distribution. The APC in 2015 promised 20 megawatts of electricity within 4 years, and increasing to 50,000 megawatts with a view to achieving 247 There's 24 hours, 7 days a week, uninterrupted power supply within 10 years. First instance, 20 megawatts. That brings
20,000.
20,000 megawatts. And then a further increase to 50,000. My brother Marvel mentioned the generating capacity that Nigeria has, which we are not even sure. Sometimes they quote 11,000 plus, sometimes 12,000, sometimes 13, sometimes 14. That is the total installed capacity, not the capacity to generate. What we are able to generate from there is just between 3,000 and 4,000.
Most times 2,000.
At times less than 2,000. So, and you are generating that power for how many people? Over 200 million. And it is on record that by Energy Progress Report 2022, that Nigeria has the lowest access to electricity globally. A giant of Africa, we just celebrated the exploit of sportsmen. You understand? But coming to something that will cause even the least person, which you may consider the common man on the street, the welder, who no matter what amount he has, he can never be able to power his welding set with fuel, because there's no way to be able to meet up to make profit. So if a welder, the hairdresser, where Sharon will go and make her hair, cannot afford to buy fuel, where the barber, some of the people you call peasants, who is unable to power the little Bob Loco, the smallest capacity gen that you can afford. Some of them even spoil their clippers for them because of the poor power transmission and all of that. So you're looking at a country where when people promise, you go to sleep, you discover that that promise was nothing but mere propaganda. Because eventually what happened, within that last administration, with about 1 trillion bailout that Buhari said to have put in, trillion naira, we had, between 10 years, 222 national grid collapse. And in 2022 alone, we had about 98. When you're talking about grid collapse, everything shut down. Villa has to use their standby power. So it's not a matter of somebody is exempted, where the exemption that were very rare. You now ask yourself the question, where is the magic wand that was promised, which made some persons to actually vote for that administration, to send packing the PDP that was said to be grossly ineffective and corrupt? So we need to be able to separate politics from governance, because those that were living in denial that the past situation in the country is not bad have had the biggest industries in Nigeria move to neighboring countries like Ghana.
Citizen,
Yes.
that will lead me to my next question.
Yes.
Now, we're dealing with just about 3,000 megawatts, right? And the word on the streets that we hear every day now is we're trying to woo investors, we're trying to bring in investors, we're trying to bring in money. How, and the president mentioned it in one of his speech that, wasn't the president, somebody from the presidency, to talk about electricity, talking about how we need power to bring in investors, and that's the truth. Because how many people would want to come into Nigeria to run generators for 18 hours, for example, 18 hours in 24 hours? So what are the alternatives? What can we do about it? Bringing in investors without power supply.
Sharon, I will not mince words to tell you, when you hear government talk about bringing investors, when actually investors are leaving as they speak, you've just got to know that some people believe that they have to think for you, and whatever they say, you must take it because they are in power. But if you have a mind of your own, if you are enlightened, if you are not gullible, you know that the person telling you he's going to bring investors or he has gone to bring in investors is just going on holiday, is just going to have access to extra code.
But citizens,
No.
we've actually seen. I mean, you remember the COP28 summit where
Yes.
he went with how many delegates?
No.
He has gone. We've heard of different times, and seen pictures of different
The
times.
reality is what I'm
he
telling
went
you.
out to. That's not reality,
No,
because
no,
sometimes we get to hear of the results of the meeting.
Which result?
Here,
There is
let us
no
say here.
result. Don't take anybody's word for anything. You take the action. None of those supposed investors have come so far. And more, the ones we should have gone to plead with them that, oh, please, we will subsidize for you. Just maintain your workforce. I don't want to mention names. Now, we've not gone to those ones to say, please don't go. Like who sang that song? Something chicken will be or whatever. It skipped my mind now. It was a singer far back in the 80s. Please don't go. Keep begging someone, please don't go, please don't go. Instead of admitting, please don't go, is what we should have been doing. Not come and invest, because we don't have the infrastructure to support any investment that is not born out of fraud. Some of those that will come are coming because if they say, okay, let's run a PPP stuff, we are going to bring in what's the project? The project is 10 billion, because it's got to be whopping $10 billion. We are going to bring in 60 or 60%. You understand? Government, you bring in 40 or something less for government. But by the time you look at the total package, you discover that what they are bringing in is less than 20%. So if government brings 40%, and the people are sure that, like one of those controversial contracts that God just saved us from paying trillions to some scammers both in government and outside government, the people will come, you bring the government counterpart funding, they share the money, they even have more than enough that will have done the project if that was a genuine project. So unless you are looking for fraudulent foreign investors, but if you are looking for people that are coming to invest with their money and then they hope to also repatriate their profit, which is something we must also tell ourselves the home truth, which I said even during the administration of Governor Dume Manuel that brought in the industrialization. Wonderful idea. But I said, if you don't have local industrialists, honestly speaking, you end up just repatriating the profit, because 70% of the profit are repatriated. All you have is us, or you have industries and people are working there. The main benefit we don't have. So until you are able to have genuine investors and then the enabling environment where you don't need to cut deals, where you don't need to go and beg somebody, I will subsidize your fuel to run the factory, please just cover me up and all of that. Otherwise, the thing is going to blow right in your face. So the reality is, the Nigerian government is not ready to bring in foreign investors until the power situation is corrected. I want to quote, not just quoting, I want to say what the Minister of Power said, I think was this February. He visited the Olorunsogo and one other power plants, and he said they are operating at 25%, less than 25% capacity. Why? My brother Marvel said it. The gas supply is inadequate. It is unbelievable that we flay gas. It's unbelievable that we are building the KKK gas pipeline from Kaduna, Kaduna, down to Niger, heading to Algeria, heading to Europe. Whereas we need that gas here first to power the plants, to power the industries, to empower our people, and then we'll now supply Europe with power. The minister said gas is the problem. None of the power stations in the country is operating at more than 25%. Who does that? And these experts, they have consultants. Like Marvel sitting here, you don't know who he's consulting for. You have to tell your clients the truth. What's the power situation? Another thing will be the legal framework. How does how is law in their place? And like the Tony Blinken told Mr. President just 2 weeks ago or a few weeks ago when he came in, he said they are ready to come and invest, but we want to be sure that the legal framework is good enough for the American investors. And then the issue of corruption, we have to fight it. So it is time. I'm not tired of talking about what is called declaring state of emergency. Yes, you must be intentional about solving problems. And because you are not the one to solve the problem being the president, you are to get experts to bring you possible solutions to solve every problem. And all these problems can be solved simultaneously. Don't take anybody word for it who says it's going to bring in foreign investors, because there's no enabling environment yet, except people feel that all of us are gullible.
All right.